Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's a 1-point favorite. The over-under is also 1. One Pavia brother arrested.
Come again?
If you saw over the weekend, the Pavia brothers got a little too turned in Nashville after beating an FCS team. Misdemeanor charges of public intoxication and resisting arrest. Will, can you imagine getting that call as a police officer to arrest the Pavia brothers?
I mean, that's got to be like, first off, Vandy, get it together with the Nashville PD, man, for a misdemeanor. But at the same time, they probably had to be causing so much of a scene. There was probably a little bit of arresting or resisting there to where it's like, sir, we have to end this situation. Like, we would love to not take you to jail tonight.
I'm not saying that it was Morgan Wallen throwing chairs off the roof, but it probably wasn't that far away from it.
That feels so different from like most other like 99% of college towns too, because it's like that's weird, but it's not the weirdest thing the PD has probably seen.
Can you think of the amount of times in which cops pass up arresting someone in Nashville?
Yeah, that's a good point because most people are tourists too. It's like I don't want to ruin your life here, having you get a drunk and disorderly in Nashville. Yeah, I would love to see a GoPro of the post game there. I bet that was electric.
Yeah. On one hand, Diego Pavia could be like, buddy, it's a typical weekend in my household. What are you talking about? Hey, I'm not going to let that get to me. That's a Tuesday. Whatever. It happens. On the other hand, it could spark a pissed off Diego Pavia. Maybe he convinces himself that Enter Sandman is actually being played for him, and it's not the soundtrack to one of the most electric entrances, not just in college football, but really in all of sports.
Do you think he'll go for like the Boz style, like bleep the police shirt or something? Do you think he'll get a infraction for trying to protest the arrest? What are we thinking?
I would hope not. I would hope Diego and his resisting ways. I think he won. You beat the NCAA.
Fair.
I take that up with the Nashville PD if you got an issue. Mm-hmm. Maybe don't let that bleed over into this game on Saturday night. But yeah, he's going to show up ready to go. And if he's not ready to go, I think that intro will get him ready to go. You watch that entrance, Will, and we don't get a chance to talk about this a lot because Virginia Tech, like hosting an SEC team, is that's not something that happens all the time. And I realize Virginia Tech just played South Carolina on Sunday.
Shout out to their AD man who just scheduled 2 of these. Anyway,
Whit Babcock. Yeah, sure. I know these things. We're gonna get to, I got a thought on Whit in a little bit that I'm gonna get to in a second here. But you watch that intro and you wonder how Virginia Tech doesn't win every game by 1,000 points and why they don't sign every recruit in America. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a school, man, especially with kind of their not super recent history, but kind of the course of our lives. I feel like they're about a donor away. That DMV area is so talented. So guys like AI, Jonathan Allen, Vic are from there. And a lot of those guys end up going to Maryland, right? And so, yeah, I mean, that just seems like such a fun environment to play in.
And by the way, Will means Allen Iverson for the kids out there that know AI is one thing. We know AI is another thing.
Biggest getting old thing is like artificial intelligence. The answer.
The answer. Yeah. Look, there's only one pushback to that intro, and that is it maybe pumps up the visiting team a little bit too much, gets them going. Everybody always talks about how jump around at Wisconsin is kind of the thing that gets the visiting crowd hype. Like all the visiting players are doing it too, and Alabama players are doing it last year. You're like, this is kind of working against you in a weird sort of way. If we need to dial back our intros, no, we don't need to do that. We instead need to show that to people that don't understand why college football is electric, or if the aliens came down here and needed some sort of seminar on college football, you're playing Enter Sandman and you're showing Virginia Tech walking into that stadium. Absolutely.
Yeah, look, drop those aliens at a pregame LSU tailgate. I'll have them turning around. All right, they don't want none of this stuff. But, but that's part of it. It's like I like a regional song. I love Enter Sandman. I'm not saying anything against it, but like Rocky Top in Tennessee. It's hard for Florida to get amped for Rocky Top, right? Louisiana Saturday night. But that being said, I feel like they need to do like one of those like virtual listening parties to the visiting team and just put them in noise canceling headphones and just do that before everybody walks out. And they're coming out. They're like, why is everybody so hype? We're hearing stuff and they're cold. That's what they got to do is just waterboard them a little bit,
Country Roads, Virginia Tech, or West Virginia rather, not Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. Another, region, Dixieland Delight. Although that's Tennessee's song, not Alabama's, but people
See,
forget that.
Tennessee, now that they're pretty good, and especially Alabama's going to fall down, they should just start playing Dixieland Delight. Like, look, it's about Tennessee. We just saw Auburn try to do this with the championships. Just start claiming them. Make Alabama fight you on them.
If Alabama lets Dixieland Delight go to Tennessee, you're talking about what would it take to muster the money to fire Kalen DeBoer. That might be it.
Mm-hmm.
That might be it. What are we talking about again? Oh, yeah, Virginia Tech hosting Diego Pavia
Virginia Tech
and
Vandy,
yes.
Series that they have going on.
Football, yes. I wonder, Will, how much Vanderbilt offense coordinator Tim Beck, I wonder how much he watched Virginia Tech in the South Carolina opener on Sunday afternoon and thought, wait a minute, this Virginia Tech defense is going to start the season by having to chase around Lenore Sellers and then on short rest have to chase around Diego Pavia. I think you got to play into that if you're Tim Beck. You absolutely have to. He had 26 carries in this game to kick off last season. 26. That's a ton. That is borderline Joe Burrow at A&M 2018.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That is, it would be like whatever the inverse of like quiet quitting is. It's almost like quiet firing. It's like, okay, well, you're going to have to play 2 SEC teams and their quarterbacks will be Lenore Sellers and Diego Pavia. Like, we should do that to terrorists. We should just put them in at linebacker, not knowing the defense, and have them just chase around those two guys for consecutive Saturdays while people tweet about it.
Those guys are going to need IVs, the whole deal after that experience. They will. And look, this game last year, Virginia Tech was a trendy pick to win the ACC, and it was a coming out party for Diego Pavia and company for sure to win that game in Nashville. And I think you've seen a theme play out for Virginia Tech since then. We talked about it last week with the South Carolina game. They can't win close games. They just can't. And this should be a close game. Vandy has been a much better team at winning close games. At least they were last year. And the more I think about it, the more I think Virginia Tech will be in trouble. They did some dumb things in that opener in the South Carolina game where Kyron Drones is throwing these balls in a double coverage in the red zone. Like, man, you are way too experienced to be doing things like that. Mm-hmm. And some of the mistakes that they made in that game, you're just like, you can't do that. You can't shoot yourself in the foot like that with golden opportunities against a top 15 team like South Carolina.
You can't lose the Beamer Bowl on Beamer Ball. Is that what I would say? Probably.
True. You know he's getting one special teams touchdown. You have to account for that.
You kick it out of bounds. Please. Why would you even allow it? Anyway.
Come on. 11 points is not going to be enough. Mm-hmm. It's possible that Virginia Tech is a few dumb plays away from being 1-0 with a win over a top 15 team. And maybe they're going to beat Vandy going away. And we're like, wow, they're really not that far away from being 2-0 with 2 wins against SEC teams to start off the year. Like, that's possible. In the preseason, I had Virginia Tech getting revenge on Vandy in this one. I'm flipping now. Too many costly Virginia Tech mistakes late. Mm-hmm. Pavia and the Doors prevail 21-20.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. And just to quickly kind of go back to like the scheduling part of it, it's such a nightmare, right? Because it's like, okay, we're going to start with 2 SEC teams. It's kind of pick them against South Carolina. Then we'll beat Vandy, when you make the schedule. And it's like, okay, well, now we'll be 1-1 against the SEC.
Oh,
we'll say, get a little bit of recruiting going in. That'll be cool. And they could have never predicted that this would be, what happened. And it's sometimes a little bit oversimplistic to look at series history here. But I look at Vandy and how they've had another year together, with the New Mexico State transplants that they kind of all brought in, Stowers, Pavia. This was really their first meaningful game as a Vanderbilt team together, right? And so I think now they've had the season, the previous season. And of course, it can't be understated how Diego Pavia isn't going to be at 100% health. He's got his overshields up. He's got his enchants on. His wear and tear is going to be at 0. And he's going to be ready to just run through a wall. And yeah, you got to just kind of like I said, just put the earbuds on him for Enter Sandman, because he's going to come in with the kickoff unit if you let him listen to that.
He's going to be juiced. so juiced for this one, man. But yeah, it should be a good game. On a very different note, Will. Well, kind of on a similar note. If Brent Pry loses this game, I'm not saying he gets fired on Sunday. I'm not saying that this is, you're 0-2, you're getting fired, and this is like some Scott Frost in that extra season that he shouldn't have gotten, and then they still fired him in September sort of way. I am saying that if you think Vandy wins this game, and if you're looking for a wager on the first coach fired this season, that's a place that I would look. A 3-4 start with a midseason firing after a Georgia Tech loss, another mobile quarterback, Haynes King. That could be in play for Virginia Tech if they don't figure things out this week.
Why does this poor team have to do this? Haynes King in Atlanta, Georgia after this still first half of the season.
To be fair, they did all right with Sellers. Like Sellers did some very Sellers things in that game, but it wasn't like they scored 45 points. They held them to 24 points, and obviously 7 of those were a special teams touchdown. Now they did have 7 wiped off the board with the Nick Harbor, what is actually a catch, so you could play that card as well. But Virginia Tech wasn't bad defensively, so it's not like you saw them against a mobile quarterback and you're thinking, oh my God, this is what Alabama struggled with, or this is like what last year with LSU, what they struggled with, or something like that, where it's just an obvious Achilles heel. So I don't want to necessarily go there just yet, like it's an automatic loss for them, but they could be staring at that 3-4 if they're unable to win a game like this, and losing home and home to Vandy, and especially when you're the coach that just can't win close games. If they lose a close game here, it'd be 1-14 in games decided by 10 points or less.
Oh my gosh.
Connor,
I could see you at 50 one day, just walking away and being like, hey, I've been keeping this Iowa notebook for my own good. I've been betting on head coach firing futures this whole time. I got all these notes. Nobody has me. I have $10 million in the bank, and I'm just going to take it out. And you would just walk off into some Nebraska cornfield, and we'd never hear from you again. You get the biggest lawnmower. Anyway.
Beatrice is lovely this time of year. It really is. Got a lot of fine places in Nebraska.
I'm on to you.
We'll get back one day. On a different note, though. Okay. So, this, if it goes in that direction, and this is this disaster start for Virginia Tech, I would have to explain on a bunch of different places why, as much as I think he loves Blacksburg, I don't think Shane Beamer is returning there to be in his father's shadow and take that job. So I'd like to get out ahead of that right now before this becomes a thing. My wild card to get that job, if it opens up, if Virginia Tech opens up, is Butch Jones. Big Saturday ahead for Butch Jones.
He's back like he never left.
He's back facing an SEC team for the first time since he was fired at Tennessee. He's facing Arkansas this weekend. First ever matchup between Arkansas and Arkansas State. How about that? Really, really cool that state is getting to have that. But if Butch puts together another 8-win season, Virginia Tech's AD, Whit Babcock, that is his name, right? Google that real quick for me. Whit Babcock. I don't want to be wrong about that, about such a convincing name. Whit Babcock. That's not made up. Real name.
Okay. It's a real person. Athletic director of Virginia Tech. He's kind of swagging. Just
didn't have that written down. I was like, I'll remember that name. I'm not going to mess up that name on there. He was the AD who promoted Butch at Cincinnati. So there's obviously a tie in there. I remember even 10 years ago, they're like, would Butch Jones leave Tennessee for Virginia Tech? Would he do that to replace Frank Beamer? Is this something that could actually happen? Butch has quietly built himself back up to respectability. Okay. And he's no longer the laughingstock that he was at Tennessee. Very different situation at Tennessee than what he would be walking into at Virginia Tech. Real ones know that Jalen Rayner. See, we mess up with the Jalen's. Once we get
There's too many Jalen's. Stop naming those kids Jalen, Jaden.
Yeah, they're everywhere. It's an epidemic. Jalen Rayner is legit. If he gives that Arkansas defense some problems, look at the way that Butch Jones is being talked about on the internet airwaves on Saturday. And just keep that in mind, and keep that in mind for this job. I know we're getting out ahead of this, but I just want that on record right now as we sit here and breathe on the first Wednesday of September, that Butch Jones is my dark horse to get the Virginia Tech job.
Of course. And again, guys, this is why you're here, because we're giving you the preview. And furthermore, you hit on this, Arkansas State's never played Arkansas. That means Arkansas State and Butch Jones have the chance to do the funniest thing ever, which is open up with a winning record against Arkansas if they win this weekend. Not that I think it's going to be happen, but you've kind of sold me on this game as well. And I just wanted to note too, there is no reason why Shane Beamer would leave South Carolina for Virginia Tech. And I'll tell you why, because he has not struggled to get those kids from the DMV. Nick Harbor was one of them. So I think that his connections of that area can still help you just as much as South Carolina.
Do you think South Carolina fans have watched the Nick Harbor touchdown 50 times since it happened on Sunday? Is that low? 60? 70?
That's
Maybe.
My guy, man. You know me. I'll die with that stock, So I'm excited that they got him going early.
God, it looked good. It was really, really good. But yeah, you came for the Vandy Virginia Tech preview. You stayed, hopefully, for the don't sleep on Butch Jones getting another power conference job conversation. That's where we're at.